Peter Morrell rearrested in SNP finances probe. What, are you telling me that a functionally Marxist party, obsessed with commie propaganda and identity politics, is found to be being a little bit dodgy with the purse strings, eh? Surely not. Scottish nationalists, the people who for 500 years have not been able to run a piss-up in a brewery. The people who, contrary to popular belief north of the border, were not forced into a union or invaded by Geordies in 1960, which seems to be the prevailing opinion from SNP members. No. A rampaging force of Geordies and Yorkshiremen didn't take Scotland at the point of a bayonet in the 1960s, lads. What happened was, you set up a colony, it went bankrupt, and you lost half your entire nation's wealth. Because to this day, despite being as tight as a mosquito's arsehole, you are still as bad with money as a pissed sailor in Vegas. And then because of that, as Robbie Burns said, you were bought and sold with English gold. If you hadn't went bankrupt, none of this would have happened, would it? You'd have your precious independence, and I could go back with my original plan of forcing English school children to read the Jocks and the Geordies comics every morning, banning Ower Woolley, building Hadrian's Wall 10 feet higher and manning it with angry Geordies armed with broom shanks with boxing gloves taped to the end of it. So every time one of them, after a few years of eating grass and finishing off all the penguins in Edinburgh Zoo, because commies can't run a bath, let alone a bank account, we just stop them from piling over to steal our Newcastle brown ale and Tudor crisp rations. That's my plan. But you don't come here for my plans, dear. You come here for the news, presented in a totally logical and reasonable and impartial manner. Like that opening monologue. Yeah, totally impartial. The husband of former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been rearrested in connection with the ongoing investigation into the finances of the SNP. Peter Morrell, 59, was previously arrested as a suspect on the 5th of April 2023 before being released without charge. Because it's a bent country run by bent politicians and commie activists, so of course the police do as they're told. Of course they do. Do you think Xi Jinping's police do as they're told as well? Or do you reckon they enforce the law impartially, without fear or favour? If you do reckon that, congratulations. You've got the IQ of a chicken McNugget. Mr Morrell resigned as the party's chief executive in March 2023. In April last year, his arrest was the first of 3 as part of Operation Branchform, Police Scotland's major investigation into the funding and finances of the SNP. Now, I'm sure many of you listening just want to get to the meat of the issue, and there is a timeline I found which eloquently spells all this out and proves beyond any reasonable doubt that the people running Scotland can only be politely described as thieving gypsy bastards. Yeah. September 2024, a referendum is held in which Scottish voters reject Scotland becoming an independent country by 55 to 45%. Or as we like to call it, the never-endum, because commies don't do as they're told. Same as Brexit, the never-endum. Remember, we basically had to win 5 votes by a landslide to get them to push through Brexit. 5. Count them. It was voting for the Tories because they said they'd have a referendum. Voting for the Tories again because they dragged their feet, like they always do. Voting in the referendum and winning by 17.4 million votes. Well, not winning by 17.4 million. We merely won by like 1 million. I mean, it's only 1 million people. Worthless. Yeah, weird how that works, isn't it? If a lefty wins by 2 votes or a coin toss, it's a free and fair election. But if you win by with a majority of 1 million, yeah, people didn't know what they were voting for. Yeah, they only debated it for 6 months and voted for it 3 times. And then they voted for Farage's brand new Brexit party because they still hadn't done it. And only after that did they say they were going to do it. And then they voted for Boris Johnson. I mean, that's basically how many times you have to tell these horrible, slimy, authoritarian lefty arseholes. You have to tell them and tell them and tell them and tell them and tell them. And if you're lucky, they might entertain the idea. Anyway, bit of a rant. Supposed to be talking about the SNP. Oh yeah. So, they had a referendum. They didn't get what they wanted. They lost solidly, 55 to 45. And lo and behold, what happened next? March 17, 3 years later, Miss Sturgeon takes over and announces plans for a second independence referendum. Yeah. Oh, we live in a free country, but when you don't do as you're told, We keep voting till you do it. Shut up, you poison dwarf. And have you seen a clip of her now? She is 60% plastic. She's like a recycled Waitrose bag. If she sits too close to the fire in the bothy, her lips will melt off. Either she got plastic surgery or she got two burly Scottish lumberjacks to kneel on her back, grab her head, peel back the skin as far as it'd go and then stick a bulldog clip on the back of it. Because she's just a bit strange looking these days. Looks like a Japanese sniper with a plastic face. June 2017, a UK-wide election sees the SNP share of the vote fall from 50% to 37%. And this is where it gets good. A fundraising website, yes.scot, helps take IndyRef2 fighting fund to £667,000. An SNP membership peaks at 126,000. But the following year, the party's accounts reveal it has fallen back to 104. Pro-independence blogger Stuart Campbell, the man behind the Wings Over Scotland political website, highlights that according to the SNP's accounts, it only has £97,000 in its bank account and total net assets of £272,000. The article, You've Been Robbed, invites donors who are concerned about the state of affairs to ask the SNP what happened to the donations. What, you're concerned about getting robbed, lads? Don't worry, ask this Gollum if he joined a health club looking twat. 3 SNP officials, Lord Provost Frank Ross, Alison Graham and Cynthia Guthrie, resigned from the party's Finance and Audit Committee after being denied sight of the accounts. A statement from this is read out at an SNP meeting, the party's ruling body. Guthrie joins the Alba Party led by Alex Salmond. Yes, this is when the rats start fleeing the sinking ship. If they hadn't robbed hundreds of thousands of pounds, why would those 3 officials not be allowed to see the accounts? Think about it. Think about it. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Why can't you see the accounts? There's nothing in them but money. We're not like Scrooge McDuck and it's a vault. And you could open it and find embarrassing things, like a few kilos of Charlie and some trafficked underage prostitutes. I mean, I'm just thinking of English politicians, what the things they're like there. But it's just numbers on a sheet. And they wouldn't let them see them because they robbed you if you were daft enough to vote for the commies because you stupidly think they'd be a better alternative than a bunch of posh wankers from down south. A video emerged of Sturgeon telling the NEC their finances had never been stronger. Aye, we've got any money. Stronger than ever. Yeah, so I told you they don't know. I told you they can't run a bank account, these useless twats. What did I just tell you? Got no money, stronger than ever. Yeah, cheers then. Makes loads of sense, Jimmy. 29th of May 21, Douglas Chapman resigns as National Treasurer. Whoops. Saying he's not received the support of financial information required to do the job. Definitely not dodgy, that is it? Yeah. Honest as the day is long. A few days later, SNP MP Joanna Cherry also resigns, saying there's no transparency, and Mr Beattie is reappointed as the Treasurer. Brilliant. That's like giving a crack whore with a gambling problem the keys to the casino. Class. June 2021, Peter Murrell provides £107,000 loan to the party. Yeah. If I pinch it off you and then a week later give you it back as a loan, does it count as a loan? I don't think so. 2022, the SNP's accountants resign from their role as auditors. But the news doesn't emerge until 7 months later. There she is. Look, share if you was a short, ugly boy. Nicola Sturgeon unexpectedly announces she's resigning. Whoops. And then Mr. Murrell gets arrested. Anyway, I've taken enough of your time. The SNP are just doing what Marxist revolutionaries do, which is steal your money, make a complete pig's ear of your country, and then dash with the cash, mired in sleaze and corruption and lies. So, if you're a Scottish nationalist, what do you take away from this? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You do what everybody north of Birmingham's been doing for years. You sigh and resign yourself to being led by morons. But what you don't do is choose a boot in the bollocks, commies, over a punch in the face. Anybody else. Pick any remotely centrist or right-leaning alternative that exists, or just don't bother voting. But if you vote for sleazy, slimy, thieving commies, you deserve everything you get. And I've made the point to the Welsh and the Irish as well. You think you hate the English? You think you hate them? Normal working class people like me who just want to raise the kids and be left alone by the government. You think that you hate them, but you don't. You've been told to by Marxist revolutionaries because hate makes them strong. Plaid Cymru, Sinn Féin and the SNP have proved that unfortunately you don't get to be a nationalist in the outlying countries unless you also want to be a communist. Might I suggest it's not a very good idea? But that's just what I think. If you're Welsh or Scottish or Irish and you think Sinn Féin, Plaid Cymru and the SNP have got your best interest at heart, feel free to have a go in the comments. And I reserve the right to call you a gibbon in a tracksuit in response. Alright, thank you for tuning in as always. I do love ribbing our neighbours to the north. I am northern, it is a favourite pastime of mine. If anybody agrees with me and wants to send me a crate of Iron Brew and some Wally Bucks, please do. I got plenty of them as a child living in the northeast. And remember, I am only kidding. Well, mostly. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you all very soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.